Good afternoon. Back to work on the words of Mary. So this might be interesting for folk who do autoethnographic research or who might want to use that method in their dissertation. Just seeing how I do it. So I've actually, having preset all the categories by each sentence of the words of Mary that are in the Bible, I then have a response to each of those words in each section. And I marked on dates. I wrote each one too. At this point, I'll probably change those dates to headlines at some point. Things might have to be moved around. Transitional sentences and paragraphs have to be written. Sections might get cut, right? As this autoethnography comes into focus. But right now, I wrote another section for the introduction and for another section. So I'm going to read two sections and where they are right now. So this is the introduction part, expanding on the method section. May 25th, 2025. As a method, autoethnography developed in the 21st century as ethnographers, qualitative scholars who write about the cultures of oft-distant others, fused the ideals of memoir writing with their ethnographic sensibilities. Attention to folklore, the arts, sociality, local knowledges, and customs. Ethnography has ancient roots in travel accounts such as the 5th century BC Greek writer Herodotus, and was established as a scholarly discipline in the early 20th century with the work of anthropologists Bronislaw Malinowski and Margaret Mead, whose fieldwork in the Trobriand Islands and Samoa, respectively, set the standard for professional ethnographic research, which involves an extensive period of observation and immersion, learning the local dialect and participating in everyday life, while maintaining objective distance. In the 1950s, some ethnographic researchers began limiting their studies to educational systems, producing the first educational ethnographies. Educational ethnography has become a distinct discipline, today used by educators more often than by anthropologists. The earliest self-reflective memoirs also have ancient roots, such as Julius Caesar's Commentaries and St. Augustine's Confessions. Memoirs produce narratives about a part of one's life, centering a pivotal moment or series of moments, a writing style that produces an intimacy that is accomplished by few other genres. Autoethnographic writing, then, suspends ethnography's claims to objective distance while offering the maximum in the immersion of the author, who has observed more of my own life than I have. As I write autoethnographically, in an imperfectly organized manner about my teaching, learning, and the spiritual life as a Catholic with Franciscan spiritual leanings, I hope to reveal the cultural aspects of living at the confluence of teaching, learning, and being Catholic, as well as Herodotus might have when writing about another's culture. Comparably, I long to reveal the depth of psychological and personal experience Augustine and other memoir writers have over the centuries. As a blended methodology, the rigor of either writing genre may be diminished while new opportunities for insight may emerge. As Wendell Berry, the radical farmer poet, wrote, and this is one of his poems, "When I was a young man, grown up at last, how large I seemed to myself. I was a tree, tall already, and what I had not yet reached, I would yet grow to reach. Now 30 more years added on, I have reached much I did not expect, in a direction unexpected. I am growing downward, smaller, one among the grasses." Okay, back to me. None of us choose which direction we will grow. 10 years ago, I'd hoped I would have a career in higher education, a prestigious R1 tenured professorship. I was worried broadly about climbing the ladder. With publications in press and qualitative research that was well received at national and international conferences, I saw in my Penn State professors a life I could live. I was optimistic, hopefully optimistic. I was, to use Barry's words, large and tall already, and excited for that which I would yet grow to reach. Today, a middle school general music teacher, I grow in unexpected directions, downward, smaller, one among the grasses. Though I never realized what sort of great tree I might become, perhaps a sequoia or oak with branches reaching into the sky, or even a willow or dogwood bending with the wind but revealing so much beauty in the process. I have instead become little, unimportant, ignorable. But here, among the grasses, I have nurtured a perspective I would never otherwise have grown. Does one perched high in the sequoia or oak's branches recognize the soil which their roots are sustained, in which their roots are sustained? Among the clouds, do those balanced so high caress the caterpillars and fungi humming their daily song of life? Though I often ponder what it might be like to land on the apex of my scholarly field, I write from the soil, and there are vital things happening in the soil that are overlooked. I write from here, one word at a time. Every morning, I rise and proceed to work and teach these school children here. I contemplate my experience, abilities, and my students' education as I was trained during my doctoral program. Unexpectedly, here in this soil, I have been uninhibited from growing as a philosopher and a teacher in ways tenure-line faculty are not. I have been able to ruminate intensely and write about topics that are considered marginal to music education scholarship. Without the pressure to publish, I have published as many words as anyone in my field, been referenced deeply, and thrived without the pressure of tailoring my work to specific journal formats. The baggage that R1 scholars carry, I left it at the airport and escaped to the wilderness. Okay, going ahead way down to the bottom, because we're at the I have no wine section, which are Mary's last words, which I already have a big long reflection on. Here we go. May 25th, 2025. St. Francis wrote his most characteristic song, The Canticle of Brother Sun, over 3 different periods. He wrote the first section according to the legend of Perugia, when he was preaching to non-human animals and instructing them to praise the Lord, their Creator. The second part of the canticle was written to help feuding civil and religious authorities find peace among one another. And the third was written on his deathbed. In my backyard, grapevines I did not plant grow up on a trellis that I did not build. Each year there is an abundance of grapes, most of which I leave for the wildlife. In the Franciscan mode of being, Sister Vine has been gratuitous to me. My family and my brothers and sisters, the birds, squirrels, insects, and groundhog. When I take my students outside, similar gifts are revealed. A songbird sings for love in the springtime, and in autumn the cicadas teach my students about crescendos and rhythms broader than any human composer has ever written. The wind and chill, sweltering heat, drizzling rain or snowfall in the seasons also offer us a lesson on the trueness of reality. However managed, indoor spaces or in schools, outdoor lessons help us face the truth. The ancient sunlight in the form of oil, natural gas, and coal that we burn to warm the building in the winter and heat it in the summer are also gifts. The world we were born into did not explicitly need these sources of energy. Sister Earth, in her deep history, did not have oil, natural gas, or coal to offer until after the Carboniferous, 360 to 290 million years ago, and Mesozoic, 252 to 66 million years ago, eras. The trueness of being outdoors with music students opens space for understanding both our now and our deep geologic histories. In his seminal writing inspired by avant-garde music and Thoreau's Walden, R. Murray Schafer defined music broadly as sounds. Behold the new orchestra, the sonic universe. Schafer envisioned his writing as transforming the practice of music education, but 5.5 decades later, most music education classrooms never think about the soundscape. Music is defined in a more limited way, or not defined at all, in schools as 18th and 19th century bands, orchestras, and choirs dominate the curricula. Unlike some, I don't contest bands, orchestras, and choirs in schools. Instead, I have tried to redirect these teachers' attention to their relationship with the natural world. Schaeffer's own extensive collection of choral compositions was not unique in reflecting his understanding of the natural world. Hildegard of Bingen, 1098 to 1179, compositions such as O Nobilissima Viridas responded to her thoughts on nature and life, reflecting the divine creator, redeemer, and sustainer. Clement Janquin's 1485 to 1558 Le Chant des Oiseaux, sorry, my French is terrible, I don't have any, entails choral singers mimicking various bird songs. Vivaldi's 1678 to 1741, Four Seasons, Mozart, 1756 to 1791, Sparrow Mass, Tchaikovsky's 1840-1893, Storm Overture, and Stravinsky's 1882 and 1971, Rite of Spring, have all been in various ways responses to the natural world. It is typical that much music is composed from every century that responds to our sonic universe, the sonic universe of nature. And it ought not be strange, then, for music teachers to, in the process of educating students, connect students to their brothers and sisters, the birds, insects, mammals, winds and storms, and all of the sounds which encompass humans from birth to death.